Hey, this is Chuck with BMW Blog, and I am a serious coffee addict and an unapologetic BMW fanatic. So in this video, we're going to show you which coffee cup, specifically which coffee thermos, is the best for your BMW. And depending on what year BMW you have and what era it's from is really going to dictate which coffee mug is going to work for you. So we're going to show you the performance of these based off of thermal imaging and timed temperature tests, as well as having used them out on the open road and see which ones actually hold your coffee well and are easy to use. Let's first talk about the Hydro Flask, and we'll also talk about it in the 2021 BMW X3. And it's a great car to talk about coffee cup holders in it because this is the #1 selling car for BMW the last few years. I've taken this all the way up to South Dakota, the Badlands, and Mount Rushmore, and this is the coffee cup I used, and I absolutely love this thing. It keeps the coffee warm for a long period of time. The downside to the Hydro Flask is that the opening is not sealed, so you could, if you tipped it over, spill it. So in a car that doesn't have secure cup holders, it's not really a good option, but in a car like the BMW X3, the BMW M8, almost all current BMWs, this one works well in those. The Yeti. If I only got to have one coffee cup, that would be the Yeti. This thing is built like a brick house. It is just extremely solid. It has a nice sealable lid. It has a little gasket around it, and this little thumb drawer right there. It also fits well in the BMW X3. Now the Contigo, it gets tremendously good ratings, but you'll notice that the bottom of it is quite a bit wider than the rest of the body up here. And when you go to put it in, initially you meet a significant amount of resistance right at the top, and you really kind of have to push hard to get it down in there. It makes you afraid that you're going to break something. Now, I haven't broken anything, and it does sit down there, but it is kind of a disconcerting feeling when you put it in. So I would not recommend the Contigo for if you have a modern BMW, just because of the effort that it takes to get it in the car. It is a fantastic cup, coffee cup, though. You do have to push this button right here to be able to drink out of it, though, and that takes some getting used to. The Zeroshi is a fabulous one. But it's really pretty small, and I really pretty much don't drink out of it, but I use it more or less as a thermos, unless I'm having to drive a car with a really small cup holder. This is the Starbucks one. These are actually rather well built. These are also around $25 for, this is a 16-ounce one. The lid has a really nice sealable door, and you can see that right there that the door kind of drops down as you open this lid. You can see how that mechanism kind of opens there, and that's kind of their current mechanism. Works really well. Had good thermal imaging properties on it also, although not as good as the Zeroshi. So if you get one of these, you won't be disappointed. And this is the BMW represented one. I've had many over the years, and they're all very similar. They have a little rubber gasket on them, so they seal up well, and they're pretty much splash proof, but if you held it upside down, it would leak. This one had the worst performance, and I can tell you from using it in the past that you could feel the cup is hot when you're using it, and you know that you're losing heat that way. So again, good looking design, just poor function. So when you have an older BMW, the key to figuring out what kind of cup holder you need is you really need to get a Coke can, and once you do that, you open your cup holder and then you plunk your Coke can in. And if you realize that that's about as big as you're going to get in there, then you're limited on what coffee cup you can actually use. So my favorite coffee cup, the Yeti, if I try to put this tank, this monster in there, it'll sit in there, but it's going to fall out. It's just so big. You're going to risk dropping it. There's really no way, especially with a manual transmission car, to kind of like wedge it in your groin here and try and drive it. It just won't work. So you have to get a thinner coffee cup, something like this Zeroshi I found has worked really well. And if you look at the sizes of them, they're very much alike in terms of they're about the size of that Coke can. And this sits down there nicely, and it can wiggle around, but I don't really think it's going to fall out unless you're really driving the car hard. And the coffee cup that I actually thought that was going to win this whole thing, this Contigo, I thought because this was narrow, it was going to fit in there, but you can see the bottom part of this is a little bit wider. And when you actually try to put it in there, it doesn't want to go. I mean, you can kind of shoehorn and wedge it in there, but you know, you don't want to figure out what it costs to replace a 12-year-old cup holder like this. Another coffee cup that works pretty well is Starbucks. They're going to make stuff that fits in almost every car. And if you look again at the Coke can size, you can see how they're very similar. It also is 16 ounces and it sits in there really nice, and it's actually seats in there real well. That one and the Zeroshi are probably your best bet. For an older model BMW. The E90 chassis came out in about 2008. So in 2008, this was literally the best coffee cup mechanism that BMW could come out with. And you know, modern ones like this, or if you ever, God help you, if you stopped at a McDonald's and got a Big Gulp, you're just not going to get that wedged in there. So in a manual transmission car, you really need a good coffee cup holder, and you need one that fits great. I really like the Zeroshi for an older BMW like this. It's really easy. You just pop the lid open and then you can just snap it shut. It even has a little locking mechanism here so that there's no way you can accidentally open it if you're hiking or something. But really great one, and probably the best one to use in an older BMW like this. So this is our 2021 BMW i3. These cup holders are kind of unique. One of their production models available in 2021. They are really different. You can actually move this around a little bit and place it in different angles if you want. For these particular cup holders in the i3, larger cups actually work much better. They sit in here and they don't really wiggle around. The more narrow type, like this Starbucks type, they do fit and they don't fall, but they just rattle around. There's none of the springy things that you have that grip and hold like the BMW X3. That's a much nicer cup holder system. You know, this works, but again, it's pretty narrow. And again, if you do the Coke test, it kind of just rattles around a little bit. But I think for a BMW i3, you want a much larger coffee cup like the Yeti, or even this Hydro Flask works great. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about this cup. Now, you may think, what in the heck are you talking about a Porsche cup for? But the reason I show you this is that actually an OE manufacturer can sell a coffee cup that is actually really good. I found that it works incredibly well. It's waterproof. It holds the temperature really well. Porsche cup holders also are pretty crappy. People like to affectionately call them coffee flingers. So this little arm here acts as a flinger for your coffee. But if you have one of these, you know, it fits well. You can just see that it holds it near the bottom. So it can get thrown out, but this is a sealed lid. If you put coffee in here and you dump it upside down, it does not come out. Very solid lid. 50 bucks, kind of a ripoff, but. All right, so which coffee cup was the winner to us? Well, again, it depends on how old your BMW is, but if you have an older BMW, the Zeroshi is definitely the one that you want to get. It fits great. In our thermal test, it held the heat the longest. Great coffee cup. The overall winner for a newer BMW is the Yeti. This tank of a coffee mug feels pretty much indestructible. It holds your coffee hot for a long time, and even though it is a little pricey at almost $30, you know that this thing is going to be indestructible, and what's going to happen is you're going to lose it before you destroy it. So you can even replace the lids if you wear it out. Great cup. As far as our temperature testing went, we filled each coffee cup up about half full with 185 degrees Fahrenheit water. We immediately sealed the lid, and then we watched them under a thermal camera for about 1 hour and then measured the temperature. The Zeroshi was the best, keeping a temperature of 162 after 1 hour, and the BMW cup was the worst at 105 degrees Fahrenheit after 1 hour. We've included a table at the bottom that tells you all the specifics. And when looking at the thermal imaging, you can clearly see that all of them leaked a little bit through the lid, but the BMW one was clearly the worst. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review of ours. If you have something that you want us to review, let us know in the comments below, or if you find that you have a coffee cup that you think is better than one of the ones that I tested, leave a comment below and let me know which one you use and what experiences you have. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our BMW Blog YouTube channel. Cheers!